confusion, kind of a decline in my daily functioning, and constant anxiety about whether or not I was going to be able to just be myself or confidently tackle the day. It's been years that I'd started struggling with that, and no one could find a cause, whether there was a concussion or a huge traumatic event. I mean, there were a couple things, but I thought that, I was being resilient by just moving forward, and my symptoms showed that that wasn't the case. So when I finally got desperate enough, I been to one neurofeedback training session years ago, and I started researching it again, and I ended up here, and I'm so grateful. As I was going through counseling or seeing a psychiatrist for medication treatment, the talk therapy, CBT, DBT, I'd even gone through some partial inpatient treatment. Those things helped when I was there. The medication seemed to take the edge off sometimes, but as soon as I was in what I started to recognize as stressful environments, which were very normal environments, like even with my friends, at work, with my family, those things didn't take away my anxiety. My anxiety didn't stop leading to high stress, mood swings, outbursts with anger. And so the fact that my symptoms were constantly present if I wasn't in a treatment environment, which was the only place where my stressors weren't always present. So in the 8 weeks that I started the program, I have had some opportunities where I've had family come into town and visit, and the first things I started to notice, or the biggest things I started to notice, were that I was able to just enjoy their company. There wasn't this anxiety by timelines changing or events changing. There wasn't mood swings that would normally accompany a visit with having multiple people come into my space. I was able to engage with them the way I used to. I was able to have light moments, joking moments, and create good memories instead of the stressful ones that had been happening over the past few years, which resulted in me wanting to spend less and less time with my family, who I don't get to see very often. When it comes to challenges with work, I was able to navigate those without having an emotional crisis. I was able to objectively interact with my peers, my supervisors, and I was able to pretty much stay on track. I could create my schedule, stick to it, and I wasn't having the constant interruptions of a depressive episode where I felt like I was either overwhelmed or I was doing everything wrong, which, had an incredible impact on my productivity. So going through this training, I started to notice some of those symptoms disappearing, and the absence of that led to more positive responses and, again, more performance, just from what I normally expect from myself. I mentioned I had family come into town, and normally, as much as I miss them and love spending time with them, the visits would turn into a very stressful event for me, where I was exhausted and emotionally drained. And normally, every single visit for the past 3 or 4 years, I've had some type of emotional outburst, which is very uncommon for me, to the point where as I had them, they didn't make any logical sense to me, but my emotions were kind of taking over control, and I couldn't control them, which felt it made me feel very vulnerable, and even more angry, because I'm not used to not having control of my emotions or myself. So this particular visit, my sister and brother-in-law came into town, and I had the most relaxing time with them. More relaxed than I had when they weren't visiting. So it was an amazing experience.